I'm standing at the checkout. She just lifted her chin and said, trying to understand how a routine cleaning for a 14-year-old turns into a $400 out-of-network charge when the brochure specifically lists this office as a preferred provider. The teenage cashier stares at me like I'm speaking a dead language. He doesn't know what a preferred provider is. He doesn't even know what a dental plan is. He watches the register screen, waiting for his supervisor to clear the error code I triggered by using an expired coupon. My hands are shaking. So. But that's just the caffeine. And the fact that I've been up since 4:30 calculating if we can skip the next mortgage payment to cover the property tax hike that hit the mailbox yesterday. I say, dropping my voice because the woman behind me is huffing, forget the coupon. I'll pay the full amount. Just make it go through. He fumbles with the buttons. I lean against the counter and pull my phone out to check the time. Ralph is supposed to be home by 6 for dinner, and I still have to hit the butcher. My SUV idles in the lot, and my gym bag, the one I use for the yoga class I never actually attend, sits on the passenger seat. I must have left it there after dragging it out of the trunk last night while hunting for jumper cables. Reaching over to grab my wallet, the zipper catches on the seat edge and pops open. A black rectangular object, something I've never seen before, slides out from between a rolled-up yoga mat and a spare towel. It isn't an iPhone. It's thick, the screen is cracked in the corner, and it's buzzing with a persistent, low-frequency vibration against the leather. I pick it up. No case, just a sticky residue on the back. A notification pops up, balance overdue. Immediate action required, case 882J. My breath hitches, it's just a phone. Maybe Ralph bought a burner for work? He's always complaining about his IT department tracking his personal usage. The screen flickers, and a voicemail icon appears. I shouldn't touch it. I know I shouldn't. My thumb hits the playback button anyway. Ralph, it's Elizabeth Stewart again. You're not picking up the office line. If the secondary payment isn't cleared by tomorrow, the lien on the Florida property moves to the next stage. We've already discussed the consequences of your wife finding out about the escrow gaps. Call me. The voice is clipped, professional, and entirely cold. It sounds like a lawyer or a debt collector. I stand there in the grocery aisle, the sound of the beeping scanner fading into a dull roar. Elizabeth Stewart. I don't know an Elizabeth Stewart. I know his boss, his sister, and the women from the HOA who spend their lives measuring the height of our hedges. The cashier clears his throat. Ma'am, that's $84.12. I stare at the phone. The screen goes black. I shove it deep into the gym bag and zip it shut so hard the metal teeth grind together. Ma'am, I swipe my debit card. It pings, the sound of a transaction going through, or maybe a decline. I don't check the screen. I grab the bags, my knuckles white, and walk out into the humid Jersey afternoon. The parking lot is crowded with commuters rushing home before the 5:40 train hits the station. Everyone looks exactly like I feel. Tired, frantic, and holding on to a mortgage that is slowly crushing us. Driving home, I keep glancing at the passenger seat. The bag looks innocent enough, just a pile of nylon and cheap zippers. But the weight of it feels different. Every time I hit a pothole, I expect the phone to start buzzing again. When I pull into the driveway, the house is dark. Ralph's sedan isn't in the garage. I leave the groceries in the trunk and walk inside. The kitchen is exactly how I left it. A stack of unpaid utility bills sitting on the counter, next to a half-finished cup of cold coffee. I shove the gym bag behind the water heater in the laundry room, right where the dust collects in thick, gray clumps. My phone buzzes. It's the group text with his sister Sarah. Sarah, Ralph mentioned he's finally getting that promotion. Congrats to you both. Does this mean you're finally painting the guest room? I stare at the message. I don't type back. A promotion would mean more money. But Ralph hasn't had a raise in 3 years. He's been talking about restructuring and market volatility every time I bring up the fact that we're 2 months behind on the property taxes. If I left for a week, I'd have to go to my mother's in Tom's River, and I'd have to explain why, and I can't do that yet. I walk to the sink and start scrubbing a pot that's been sitting there since last night. The water is freezing, but I don't turn on the hot tap. I watch the bubbles rise, thinking about the name Elizabeth Stewart. I think about the way the voice sounded. Not like a mistress. It sounded like someone who owned us. The garage door opener hums. He's home. I turn off the faucet and dry my hands on my apron, waiting for the sound of his keys in the mudroom. The keys hit the marble console table with a sharp, aggressive clatter. Avoiding his gaze, I keep my eyes on the rim of the pot, watching a single bubble pop against the stainless steel. A dull, heavy thumping in my chest makes my ears ring. "Hey," Ralph says. His voice remains flat, carrying the exhaustion of a man who has sat in turnpike gridlock for 2 hours. "Kitchen smells like." "Is that burnt onions?" "I forgot about them," I reply, my voice thin and brittle. Turning around, I wipe my hands on the apron, despite their dryness. He loosens his tie, revealing a frayed shirt collar, one of the small, expensive details we used to replace without a second thought. Fraying now serves as another line item on our list of things falling apart. "Sarah texted?" I start. Directness feels like a mistake, but the voicemail vibrates in my head like a tuning fork. "She asked about the promotion. The one you're supposed to be getting." Ralph pauses, his hand hovering over the mail. He flips through the envelopes. The electric bill, the property tax notice, the flyers for landscapers we can't afford. With a slow, practiced motion. "Talks too much. You know that." "It's just talk, Amy. Restructuring. People like to gossip. And she likes to think she's in the loop," she said you told her. He sighs. That long, weary sound signaling his desire for silence. Walking to the fridge, he pulls out a bottle of sparkling water and twists the cap with a sharp pop. "I might have said it was a possibility. Months ago. Things changed. Markets are volatile. You know this." My eyes track his hands. They remain steady. Clutching my phone inside my apron pockets, I squeeze until my knuckles ache. "Called today, Ralph, while I was at the dentist." Taking a long drink, he swallows, his throat moving against his collar. He refuses to look at me. "What, the office? If it was billing, tell them to hold off. I'm handling it." "It wasn't billing," I say, lowering my voice. "It was a woman, Elizabeth Stewart. She left a message about a property in Florida. She mentioned a lien and escrow gaps." The air in the kitchen stalls, stops mid-sip, lowers the bottle slowly, and lets his shoulders drop an inch. Turning to look at me, he offers nothing. No anger, no surprise. Just a hollow, tired blankness. "You were going through my things." "It fell out of the bag," I say quickly, my face burning. "The gym bag, it was in the SUV. I don't even know why it was in there, Ralph. It was just there." He lets out a short, dry laugh and walks past me to drop the empty bottle in the recycling bin with a clatter. "You're spiraling again, Amy. Honestly. You're stressed about the taxes. You're reading into every little thing. It's a work phone. Sometimes these firms use third-party collectors for the, liquidity issues. It's nothing. It's not a big deal." "A lien on a property?" I ask, my voice rising. "We don't have a property in Florida. We have a 3-bedroom in New Jersey that's falling apart." "Exactly," he says, turning back. He touches my shoulder, his grip loose and patronizing. "Which is why you're overthinking it. It's a mix-up. A clerical error. I'll call them tomorrow and get it sorted. Stop letting Sarah's gossip and your own nerves get the better of you. It's exhausting." He moves toward the mudroom, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood. "I'm going to change. Let's just order something. I don't care about dinner." Staring at his back, I find his certainty terrifying. If I weren't so scared, I might believe him. Yet, his mention of liquidity issues didn't sound like a man discussing a clerical error. It sounded like a man describing a sinking ship. As soon as the bedroom door clicks shut, I move to the kitchen desk. The drawer jams, packed with 3 years of half-organized tax returns and bank statements. I pull out the latest statement for the joint account. Scanning the pages, I check rent, mortgage, insurance, and grocery store runs against my own receipts. The same depressing math stares back at me. Then I see it. A recurring transfer, labeled simply as ES Holdings. 6 months of payments, every 2 weeks. $800. My breath hitches. That amount covers almost exactly what we lack for this month's property taxes. Putting the statement down, I feel my hands tremble. I should retrieve that phone. I should inspect the call logs to see the frequency of her contact. But if I see it, I stop being a woman stressed about taxes and become a woman whose husband is hiding a life, or a debt, that is eating our home. Walking to the laundry room, I find the house silent. The water heater hides in the corner, surrounded by boxes of old holiday decorations. Reaching behind the tank, I brush my fingers against the cold, metal siding until I find the gym bag. Heavy and dense, the bag yields the phone, tucked between a towel and a pair of old sneakers. I lift it, feeling the cold, solid weight of evidence. I don't turn it on. Fearing he might watch the driveway, I find a clean Ziploc bag in the pantry, slide the device inside, and bury it deep in the bin of flour, right under the plastic scoop. The back door creaks. I freeze, my hand still in the flour bin. Amy? Ralph calls from the hallway. Where's the mail? I need that notice from the county. Pulling my hand out, I wipe the white powder from my knuckles against my jeans. I walk into the hallway, forcing my face into a mask of indifference. It's on the counter, I say. He stands there, staring at his own phone screen. Shuffling through the mail stack, he ignores me. You didn't answer me, he says, not looking up. Did you look at that phone? It's dead. I lie, the word feeling like lead in my mouth. It was dead when I found it. He stops shuffling, holding my gaze for an uncomfortable second. Leave it alone, Amy. I mean it. We have enough to deal with without you inventing problems. He turns and walks into his office, closing the door. Standing in the kitchen, I feel the silence press in. I think about my mother's house in Tom's River, the guest room, the floral wallpaper, the smell of damp pine. I could be there in 90 minutes. I could sleep on the pull-out couch and spend the next week trying to figure out how to pay the gas bill. I walk to the sink and turn the faucet on, watching the water spiral down the drain. I know I need to identify ES Holdings. I need to know if the money funds an account, a person, or a legal firm. I pull up the bank's website on my own phone. My login remains saved. Navigating to the transfer history, I feel my eyes blur as I scroll. The transfer for this month hasn't gone through yet. It sits there, scheduled for tomorrow. Staring at the date, I watch the glow illuminate the dark kitchen. My phone buzzes, a notification from the group text with Sarah. Also, Ralph, I forgot. Did you hear back from that firm in West Palm? The one that handles the estate stuff? They sent a message to my house, by mistakes. I stop breathing. My thumb hovers over the screen. I don't type a reply. I don't do anything. I just wait, watching the reflection of the screen in the dark window above the sink. The blue light from my phone screen reflects against the condensation on the kitchen window. I stare at the text until the words blur. Estate stuff. I don't look toward the office door. I don't look at the stack of bills waiting on the counter. I just look at the screen. My heart isn't racing anymore. It's doing something worse. It's settling into a cold, rhythmic thud. I unlock my banking app again. The transfer for $800 is still sitting there, waiting for the clock to hit midnight. It's a recurring payment, a digital drip feed of our grocery money and our utility payments. I should be screaming. I should be kicking that office door down and demanding he explain why his sister is getting mail from a Florida law firm, while we debate whether we can afford the generic dishwasher detergent. Instead, I stand on my toes, reaching for the upper cabinet, where I keep the spare checkbooks and the folder with our birth certificates. My hands move with a practiced, hollow precision. I pull out the folder and open it on the counter, right next to the flour bin. I need the account number for the secondary savings, the one we opened years ago for a vacation we never took. If I move the money, if I stop that transfer from hitting tomorrow, maybe the lion. They're talking about triggers a phone call I can actually answer. The kitchen floor feels cold through my socks. I glance at the pantry door. The burner phone is still buried under the flour. I need the number for the office line that Elizabeth Stewart mentioned. In that voicemail I've replayed until my ears ring. I move toward the pantry slowly. Every floorboard in this house has a specific creak, a familiar groan that usually alerts Ralph to my location. I step along the edge of the rug, avoiding the center of the kitchen. My fingers plunge into the flour. It's fine, powdery, and sticks to my skin like chalk. I dig past the plastic scoop, feeling for the hard, cracked edges of the burner phone. When my fingertips brush the screen, I pull it out, holding it like a live wire. The Ziploc bag is coated in white dust. I wipe it off with the hem of my shirt and tap the screen. It lights up, demanding a passcode I don't have. I stare at the lock screen. No missed calls since the last one. Just a notification, ES Holdings. Final notice, settlement of escrow deficit required. I don't need a code to see the preview. My breath hitches. I look back at the bank statement on the counter. ES Holdings. It's not an affair, it's a debt collector. It's a firm that buys up distressed paper, the kind of people who chase down homeowners when a secret mortgage or a failed investment goes sideways. Ralph didn't have a mistress. He had a secret. A property in Florida that we couldn't afford, an estate that has been bleeding him dry for 6 months. The liquidity issues he complained about weren't market volatility. They were the sound of our life being liquidated to pay for a hole in the ground, somewhere in a gated community 3 states away. I hear the office chair scrape against the hardwood. My body stiffens. I drop the phone into the pocket of my apron, the weight of it pulling the fabric down, and I shove the flour bin back into the dark corner of the pantry. Amy? Ralph's voice is muffled, coming through the wall. He's standing up. He's coming out, I don't think. I grab the bank statement, fold it into a sharp square, and shove it into the back of my waistband under my sweater. I turn to the sink, grab the sponge, and start scrubbing the same pot again. Is gone, the water is lukewarm, but I keep scrubbing, my teeth clenched until my jaw aches. The office door opens. He walks into the kitchen, his tie completely undone, hanging around his neck like a noose. He looks at me, then at the counter, then at the sink. You're still doing dishes? He asks. He sounds annoyed, not suspicious. He's tired. He's so tired he can't even see the panic radiating off me. I'm finishing up, I say, my voice steady, which surprises me. You wanted the mail? He looks over, his hand brushing past my shoulder. I flinch, just a fraction, and he stops. He looks at me then, really looks at me, his eyes narrowing. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I lie, just tired. The taxes, the dentist, it's a lot. He sighs, a sound of genuine frustration. He reaches for the stack of mail on the counter. I told you to leave the tax stuff alone. I'm handling it. We're going to be fine. Once this quarter closes, things will settle. What about the firm in West Palm? I ask, turning to face him. The sponge still dripping in my hand. Sarah says they're sending mail to her house. He freezes. His hand stops on an envelope. He doesn't look at me for a long, silent moment. The air in the kitchen feels thin. Sarah doesn't know what she's talking about, he says, his voice dropping to that low, dangerous register he uses when he's cornered. She's confused. It's an old account. A clerical error from when I was doing freelance work years ago. A firm that handles estate stuff? That sounds like a lot of work for a clerical error. He turns fully to face me. His face is pale, the skin around his eyes tight. I said, stop. You're making things worse by digging. If you want to help, worrying about my business, and start worrying about the grocery budget. We're tight enough as it is. He reaches out, his hand hovering over my arm, but he doesn't touch me. He pulls back, his fingers twitching. I'm going to take a shower. When I get out, I want us to just sit. No talk about money, no talk about Sarah. Can you do that? I nod. I just nod. He walks toward the hallway, his footsteps heavy and slow. He doesn't look back. I wait until I hear the water start in the bathroom. The sound of the shower, a steady, rhythmic hiss, fills the house. I pull the bank statement from my waistband. I look at the transfer date again. Tomorrow. I go to the kitchen desk, pull out my laptop, and open the banking portal. My fingers shake so hard I mistype my password twice. When I finally get in, I go to the scheduled transfers. There it is. ES Holdings, $800,000, scheduled for 10/14/2024. There's a button, cancel transfer. My finger hovers over the trackpad. If I cancel it, the lion moves to the next stage. Elizabeth Stewart said that. If I cancel it, I lose the buffer, but I gain the truth. I look at the burner phone in my apron pocket. I look at the screen. I click cancel. The page refreshes. Transfer canceled. The silence in the house is absolute. I sit there, staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen. A notification, a text, a siren. Nothing. My phone buzzes on the counter. A text from Sarah. Sarah, Amy, are you there? I'm worried. That firm called again. They said if they don't get a response by morning, they're going to start the foreclosure proceedings on the Florida property. They think Ralph is the primary owner. They said he's been ghosting them for months. I read the words. Foreclosure. I don't think about the mortgage. I don't think about the taxes. I think about the fact that we don't have a property in Florida. I stand up, walk to the mudroom, and grab my keys. I don't grab a coat. I don't grab my purse. I just walk out the back door into the damp, humid Jersey air and head toward the garage. I don't know where I'm going. I just know I can't be in this kitchen when he walks out of that shower. Gasoline fumes and the damp rot of a suburban winter permeate the garage. My breath hitches, a sharp, ragged sound against the concrete. Climbing into the SUV, I feel the leather seat bite into my thighs with a frigid grip. I leave the ignition untouched. Staring at the garage door, I listen to the muffled thrum of the shower running through the pipes above. My phone vibrates against the console. Sarah's message glows on the screen. They sent a formal notice to my house. They're saying he used my address to register the LLC for the Florida property to avoid a paper trail. Amy, are you seeing this? I'm going to have to call them back. I can't have their process servers showing up on my lawn. A knot of cold logic tightens in my gut. Ralph didn't just hide a debt. He used his own sister's address to shield assets from a creditor. Fraud, not a clerical error. Leaning my head back, I close my eyes. The mortgage math, the late-night dread I've endured for 3 years, shifts into a different language. I've been pinching pennies for a ghost. Every skipped coffee, every DIY drywall patch, every lie to our friends about canceled vacations. I subsidized a property in Florida that Ralph didn't have the decency to mention. Reaching into my pocket, I pull out the burner phone. A fine dusting of flour from the kitchen counter coats the plastic. I shove the device behind the manual in the glove compartment and slam the door shut. The engine roars to life. With a slow metallic grind, the garage door rumbles upward, echoing too loudly through the neighborhood. I wait, watching the streetlights flicker on across the community before reversing into the night. Reaching the local office park at 7:45 p.m., I find the lobby dim. The security guard looks up from his paper, greeting me with a familiar nod. Late night, Mrs. Collins? Just finishing some paperwork, I reply. My husband forgot to sign a few things before his trip. I need to get them notarized before the deadline. Leaning back, he points a finger at the counter. You know the rules, must be present. He's in the car, I lie. He's on a call, I'm just getting the forms prepped. Sitting at the small table, I pull a stack of papers from my bag. An affidavit of fraudulent activity, and a request for a freeze on the joint accounts, printed earlier from the bank's portal. I sign my name. Proving the diversion of funds to a fraudulent entity using a third-party address is all I need. The notary, a neighbor who usually pries about Ralph's promotion, stamps the pages without a word. Her eyes slide over the legal jargon. Everything okay, Amy? Just taxes, I say. Always taxes. Returning home, I see the house dark, save for the kitchen light. He's waiting. I walk into the kitchen with the folder tucked under my arm. Ralph stands at the counter, a glass of wine in his hand. His hair remains damp, and his expression shifts from annoyance to a practiced, weary concern. Where were you? I called your phone. Setting the folder on the marble island, I exhale. I went for a drive. I needed to think. He sighs, placing his glass down. Amy, look, I know you're upset. About the debt, about the Florida thing, I'm telling you, it's going to be fine. I'm going to sell the property. It'll clear everything up. Sarah texted me. He stiffens. What did she say? She's calling the firm back, Ralph. She's giving them your real address. She's tired of having their process servers show up on her porch. His face pales. Panic overtakes his movements as he reaches for his phone. She can't do that. That'll jeopardize the whole settlement. I know. I slide the folder toward him. He stares at the document, his brow furrowing. What is this? I canceled the transfer, I say. I flagged the account for fraudulent activity. The bank is going to freeze everything by morning, including the escrow payments. You did what? He stares at me, eyes wide. Amy, are you crazy? You've just tanked our credit. You've just locked us out of our own money. Pointing to the signature line, I answer, I just locked you out of mine. Heading toward the mudroom, I grab a laundry basket and dump his dress shirts onto the floor. I pack the clothes I need for the next few days. Staying at my sister's means listening to her apologize for Ralph for 6 hours a day, but the guest room is better than this house. Amy, he shouts, get back here. You have no idea what you've done. Ignoring him, I pack my spare work shoes, a few sweaters, and the toiletries from the medicine cabinet. When I return to the kitchen, he stands there, thumbs moving at a frantic pace across his phone screen. I'm staying at my sister's. You can't leave, he says, eyes glued to the device. We have to figure out how to pay the mortgage. If they freeze the accounts, the payment bounces on Tuesday. That sounds like a problem for the owner of the Florida property. I walk to the door, hand resting on the knob. The house remains quiet, the air thick with the smell of burnt onions. Leaving the folder on the counter next to his wine glass, I step outside. I don't look back. Gravel crunches under the tires as I back out of the driveway. Without a plan for the mortgage, I only possess the realization that for the first time in years, the math finally adds up. Pulling onto the main road, I see my phone resting on the passenger seat. It buzzes 3 times. I power it off and drop it into the cup holder. My hands remain steady on the wheel. The gas light glows, but I have just enough to reach the station. Amy, thank you for trusting us with your story. She just lifted her and said, "It is truly heartbreaking to realize that the person you built a life with was not only hiding significant financial burdens, but was also willing to compromise his own sister's peace of mind to protect his secrets. To find out that years of sacrifice were funneled into a hidden property in Florida, rather than the shared future you both planned, is a betrayal that cuts deeper than any typical affair. We can all feel the weight of that realization, and we are rooting for your fresh start." To our listeners, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Amy took the bold step of freezing their joint accounts to force a confrontation. But by doing so, she has potentially jeopardized their shared home in the process. Given that the property in Florida is now at risk of foreclosure due to Ralph's fraud, was Amy right to blow up their financial stability to secure the truth? Or should she have stayed quiet to protect their primary home? Please head down to the comments and let Amy know what you think she should do next. If you found this confession as gripping as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. We'll see you in the next one.